So we try a new item here, and we kind of I kind of caught you by surprise, and we want to talk about we call it the change log, or without the change log, and this is kind of a regular item we wanna have to talk about what's new in Winglang, or maybe what's new that interests you in Winglang. What do you want to share with us, Mark?
So with my several seconds of preparation that I took for this,
Okay,
um,
why
I
didn't you take
think
more time?
that's all the power I had. That's all I could do.
Okay,
But so what I can do is I will go through some of the changes the last, I guess, couple of weeks. Um, we had a code freeze actually, so it even adds a little bit of a
yeah,
weird complication there.
yeah,
But we were still working the entire time, and all the changes during the freeze got put in. So let's start with a really big one. I'm just gonna share. Let's see.
awesome, man.
Do you have to add this to the screen? Yes, you do.
Yes, I
Uh,
have. I know, and you're in, man.
and there it is. All right. So from Chris from the team, I think this. I'm starting with the big one. I'm not going to lead into this. The kind of an initial setup for having multiple wing files. This is something that everyone knows. It's
A
been clamoring
programming
for.
language with more than one file. That's what you're telling me here.
It's crazy. We might get rid of it. I don't know. Maybe it's too much.
It's
But
experimental.
for
That's
now
for
we.
the future.
So right now you can write a wing file and you can import or bring types, most importantly classes, but also interfaces and such from other wing files. Thereby getting being able to clean up your giant wing file that you may have been carrying around. There's still some stuff to do, of course, but like just being able to do that is a huge step.
So how's that kind of when I think about kind of a single wing file right now has kind of the class declaration, and then it also serves as an entry point. I can do new API kind of. How's that going to work right now? How does it work right now, and how do you think it should work?
Definitely, those are different things. How it currently works is that there's a separation of like what is considered an entry point, like you're saying.
Yeah.
So that's the file that you run when you wing it or when you wing compile. That file is the entry point, and then any other file is effectively like a module file or a library file. This isn't really explicit anywhere. It just suddenly kind of becomes that once it's imported. So yeah, there's certain limitations for what you can do in a library file versus an entry point file. I think there's still currently an issue open about talking about this whole thing.
Right.
I think it was still good that Chris still got the initial feature in to kind of unlock the capability, but I think the kind of nitty gritty details are still being worked out as to like the developer experience of working on like this kind of different file type that now exists.
Yeah, but you're an opinionated guy, man. What's your opinion?
Well, I have a lot of my opinions are linked to the VS Code extension. So I think about if I open up a language like a file that's supposed to be like a library file in the VS Code extension, how do I know that I'm being imported somewhere else and I'm not an entry point? Like it's kind of there's a little bit of a strange issue there. But I can't really think of a really good solution because I hate the idea of like adding like a module block, then adding like nesting. I don't know. I don't have a good solution. Luckily, that's why it's still being thought about in that issue. So if anyone listening to this has thoughts, please go there, read through the thread. I will not link it for you because I will not find it right now.
I kind of feel like all this. I mean, I kind of feel like all solutions are. I mean, did anyone was able to do a good job? I mean, it doesn't sound like. I mean, in Java, I remember you have a main, kind of a weird kind of syntax for a main file, and that declares an entry point, and then you can define it the entry point in Ant I used to use. So that was weird. Yeah. But also kind of when I require something in Node.js, does it run the code outside? What's going on? Yes, it runs the code. So it's weird. I mean, and we have tests. We have the test syntax. Where does that fall into?
Yeah, it's mostly how interesting Wing is that it kind of like it doesn't quite fall into any of the existing solutions. Like you said, a main function is way of saying this is an entry point.
Right.
And then like JavaScript and Python, like everything's effectively kind of a module. So they can all load each other. And when you load a module, it's like a living thing. It has values in it that exists and stay, live.
And they have a scope, right? They have the scope of the file. There's some weird stuff around this.
Yeah, it's a whole. So like, there's not. It's not an easy solution for any language, but I think especially for Wing, it's not easy. I'm opinionated, but I don't have an answer.
Okay, your opinion, but you don't have an answer. Yeah, so we're winging it so far. I see Chris comment that my mind is blown for having this. My mind is blown. I actually already used this feature because I love tests. So I have a test assertion file that I can just use because our assertion Winglang assertion right now is very limited. Let's just say that. I mean, it's very hard to assert stuff and actually know what doesn't work. So I have that, and I see Adam Ruka presenting a classic solution. I don't even remember. I know I've seen this. What is this? This is
it's a Python thing.
Right.
Like just like a way of saying that's the thing. Every solution either looks ugly, weird, kind of like it doesn't quite feel right. But like a main, it's too bad we don't have like an int main equivalent. That would be the easiest option, but that would be weird too.
Yeah,
it's really it's a tough one. I think it's going to be one of our hotly debated things.
We can. I'm sure Alad has an opinion. I don't know.
Nah, he's fine. I'm just kidding.
Okay, nice. I think we. I have to say, I think we did a great discussion on this feature. Kudos to us.
I picked a couple. I picked a few more. One I'll do really quick because it feels weird talking. Because I did this one and I don't want to talk about it for long. Anyway, but short thing.
A classic move by you, my friend.
I don't want. Yeah, I don't. If my face is there, I don't want to talk about it. But I'm pretty happy with like we took a last shot at performance profiling and checking things in or before we did the launch. I'm happy with this change where primarily when you're compiling to a simulator target, it's going to be at least twice as fast. That's kind of like probably faster depending on what you are and aren't doing in the file, but it was a pretty huge it was a pretty big improvement to performance. So it's probably shaved off a few hundreds of milliseconds from like a normal compilation time, which is noticeable when we're talking about in the order of like 600 milliseconds to run it. So I can tell how hot this debate is.
Yeah.
With the previous topic, it's raging in the comments already. And that's how
everybody has an opinion. I have to say, Mark, I really like how you communicated this because before, I mean, I saw a comment about what you found about the performance, where you think you could improve, and then 2 days later, I saw you push this, and I was really kind of disconnected from this because I was minding my own business regarding the launch, but still felt that your communication will really kind of allowed me to feel that I'm part of it. So I really like that. I'm really learning a lot how people kind of should behave in open source projects. So that was awesome to see.
Yeah, I'm glad. I mean, sure, as Wing matures over and over, like, you can't just go in there and cowboy stuff. Like, it'll definitely be important we should all do our due diligence of making changes. But I will keep going. To another Chris change actually. So on deploy, cloud.onDeploy. If you're a CDK user like me or maybe other IAC tools, this kind of concept is something I use all the time. At least once in any application I had, the feature is that allows you to run an inflight function post deploy or during deployment rather.
So is it post deploy or during deployment? What's the
philosophical? I mean, it's during deployment, I believe. It's like the deployment process does it. Actually, sorry, I actually don't know exactly how this feature works. I'm assuming it's during deployment. That's how the usual feature like this works. But yeah, let's say during. Let's go with during, and someone can check and correct me if not.
Okay. So Chris, we're waiting for you to say yeah, it's doing or post. Okay, and also Elad also doing or post. Everybody's saying we're gonna post this and see whether it's doing or post. Awesome. Yes, it is doing.
Each time, yeah, during each time the application is deployed. I could have scrolled up in the docs, maybe a little better.
Great.
Sorry. Oh, there's a cat.
There's a cat.
There's a cat here.
There's a cat.
Yeah. So during the deployment runs that it's a huge feature, huge thing. I haven't used it yet, but
yeah. Where would you use it? Where would you use it?
This is the kind of thing where it's like I can always use it, but I can never think of an example. Seeding a database is one I've used it for. My last job. That's when I did. Okay. I seeded a database with some data. Boom. Awesome. So after it deploys the database, I want to run a script to populate it.
Does add object use the same mechanism, or does add object? I mean, the bucket dot add object, does it use the same mechanism for it?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure you mean by mechanism.
Does count that bucket dot add object? It happens also during deployment, right? It's basically seeding kind of information inside the bucket. Does it use the same on deploy mechanism that the cloud on deploys thing use? If you don't have,
sorry, the cat was like literally stepping over all my buttons. Elad said no to your question.
Okay. So
let's go with that. Let's go with that. I wasn't sure I still understood, but I trust him.
Okay.
Super cool. I'll move on from that one. I know maybe we'll get to the last item on the Winglang agenda if I move fast enough.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, then I'll go slow then.
No, you should go fast.
So doc change. This technically is not like a feature of Wing, but it's a pretty big improvement to our documentation. I guess I should have actually pulled. She put a screenshot. The big thing was the code examples in the documentation should actually show something that you can run. It should be correct.
Right.
And for a long time the type names were wrong because they were using TypeScript types, and now they're all set to use the Wing types. Plus we had a bunch of hidden, they were what's the term, implementation detail types. You're never actually going to use them, but they showed up here anyway, so it was really noisy.
You mind if I share the kind of a specific doc example?
Oh, of course. If you have, yeah.
So this is again Suf work, which was great. So kind of now when we're looking at the API, for example, we have methods, and then all the pre-flight method, the list of pre-flight methods. Well, let's take someone that has both in-flight and pre-flight methods. So let's take a look at the bucket. So I'm going over to it's in one file I have how to use a bucket, and then kind of I can run this code. I can actually run this in the playground as well, and then we have the API reference of the bucket, and as you can see, we have method. We have all the pre-flight method, and then the in-flight method, and I can go to the in-flight method, and I have the in-flight delete. This doesn't look like TypeScript. The implementation of TypeScript of our system, it looks kind of more looks like the signature in Wing. It's an in-flight delete that takes those two things and returns a void. This is how it will look like, and again, it's all nicely done. I love this. I love the work that Suf has done here, and it was a delight working with her on this. Is that what you want to show?
Yes.
Great example. I'm bringing back to your computer. So this is your computer again.
Well, I think after that, I'm not sure how much else I want to call out. I mean, this release was the one that came out from the code freeze. There's a lot of changes. This is a very active project. It's hard to even go over a subset of them. We had lots of contributor help. I remember UID, Nanoid, SHA 256.
Was it Marcio? I think he
I believe, there's Marcio and Gary did some. I did one of these, I believe. But again, they're look, I'm scrolling, there's so much change, so many changes.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll cut it short here, but the releases channel is always a good place to keep up to date, and maybe next time I'll actually prepare a
I think you've done
prepare a
an
slide.
excellent job, man. It was great. I don't know. Let's maybe there's some nasty comments outside that we haven't seen, but I kind of like the flow of the new item. Thank you very much for this. This was awesome. It was a great discussion. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the short notice. Next time it's going to be probably again a short notice, but for something else. And any last word before we go into the second part of what's the name? Charmander?
Charmander.
Charmander from anime. Are we good?